Step one, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step two, get some good, some food in you. Step three, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step four, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Good morning, and welcome to Good Morning Crypto, where we turn your early hours in the morning into your edge in financial freedom. Today, I've got a headline that touches on stagflation fears, because, that's starting to be a talk again with the way that the current data trend has been heading. So we'll kind of dive on it into that one and see what the current administration can do to kind of keep those worries a little bit less than they are, especially with how many people have started talking about it, and they're kind of joining the space. It's definitely been talked about here on Piper Academy quite a bit by both Piper and me, and a few other people as well. So we'll kind of dive into that one after we get you prepped for some success today. I do have that stock heat map pulled up, and just like the crypto side of things, we saw some sell-off on the stocks. We do have Apple sitting up 0.63%, and the pre-market looking quite neutral, up 0.02. We've got Nvidia sitting down a whopping 3.09%, in the pre-market continuing to see some sell-off before that earnings report, down 0.77. We got Berkshire Hathaway sitting up 4.11%, and in the pre-market continuing to see some buying pressure, up 0.42. We do have Amazon sitting down at 1.79, and the pre-market continuing to see some sell-off, down 0.19. We've got Eli Lilly up 0.88, and the pre-market up a whopping 1.77. The health technology sector has been doing quite well for now. We'll kind of have to see if that trend continues while the rest of the market kind of sells off. We do have ExxonMobil up 0.52, and in the pre-market sitting quite neutral, up 0.08. We've got Tesla down 2.15, looking quite neutral in the pre-market right now, sitting down 0.11. Got Berkshire Hathaway, or P&G, up 0.18, and in the pre-market looking quite neutral as well, up 0.13. We've got Microsoft sitting down 1.03, and in the pre-market down 0.45. We've got Google sitting down 0.21, and in the pre-market just outside of that neutral range, down 0.52. And we've got Meta, to wrap it on out, down 2.26 from its close yesterday, and in the pre-market seeing some continued sell-off, down 0.35. Let's hop over to that crypto side of things. We've got Bitcoin sitting down at 2.6, got Ethereum down 3.53, Tether surpassing that XRP market cap. Once again, XRP down 4.27. Got BNB sitting in that barely neutral range, down 0.72. We've got Solana down 0.97, Dogecoin down 2.22, Cardano down 3.58. We've got Litecoin down 2.41, TON sitting up 0.69. We've got SWI down 1.97, Stellar Lumens also getting hit hard, down 5.09, Avalanche sitting down 2.5, Chainlink down 3.26, and Tron sitting down 4.13. Let's hop over to that economic calendar for today. We do have some data coming out from the U.S. this morning. We'll be getting some housing data, the housing price index month over month and year over year, and the S&P Schiller home price month over month and year over year, looking to be a bit of an increase on that year over year. We do have some more manufacturing data coming out at 10 a.m. the Richmond Manufacturing Shipments Index. Not a big market mover, but something to keep your eye on as manufacturing has been slowing down just a bit. We also have the API crude oil stock change starting for that oil data coming out tomorrow. We do have a few Fed chairs speaking as well. Not a big market mover, but definitely nice to hear. Especially after we're getting more and more data, and we will be keeping our eyes out for Thursday on that heavy data drop. So to get some information beforehand to kind of gauge what the markets might do on that very heavy data drop for Thursday. A lot of these moves will be in preparation for all of that data. We will be getting GDP and PCE data, and that is the biggest market movers for the Fed. So keeping our eyes out for Thursday. We do have those fear and greeds going quite crazy this morning. I hopped on and saw the stock side is sitting down crazy. It is down to almost that extreme fear, just like crypto is. It is only down a point, but we were sitting at that neutral range back in the end of last week, and we're ticking back towards that extreme fear that I've been wanting to see on the stock side. We do have crypto sitting in extreme fear, down 25 points. I'm not sure if the bottom's actually in. I know some people have said it is, but with that extreme fear sitting where it is, down 24 points, I think we might have just a little bit more room to the downside. Let's take a look at that liquidation heat map. You can kind of see for this daily, we are to the top side with most of that liquidity. There is just a bunch of light liquidity that has been sitting down here for a while. Nothing crazy to grab, but if you look at those higher term time frames, we have grabbed a lot of that bottom side liquidity. This top side liquidity is sitting about 95,500, and you do have another little light hot spot sitting down here at 92,500. If you zoom this on out to that 3-day, you can kind of see a lot of that liquidity is still to the top side here, going to be that 96,690 all the way up to 97,200. You have another light little hotspot sitting there at 95,500. Zoom this on out to that 2-week. That's what I was looking at the beginning of the week. We took out a lot of the liquidity that was residing to the bottom side of us. That 93,200 was a big area of liquidity, and we've just kind of been free falling ever since then. You do have a lot of liquidity sitting here on that 1 month to the bottom side at some very ugly ranges. That's that 72,000, which has a lot of liquidity residing at it. Don't know if we get all the way down there, but I certainly hope we can hold some of these key levels right below us as some support before we get too much farther, because there's not a whole lot of liquidity to kind of hold us up if we start breaking a whole bunch lower. You do have that same little hot spot on the 3-month, and you can kind of see it's all clear in this range, so just need to find that bottom. Let's say good morning to the chat before we hop into this Bitcoin chart. See Jesse Gulak in here dropping that WAP upperclassman link in the chat. Good morning to you, Jesse. Hope you're getting your coffee and getting prepped for the day. We've got Knox Bill in here, Jay Violet, Arsan246. Are we on bear yet? He asks. We'll just kind of have to see. I think that's more so going to depend on our current state of the economy than anything else, because it hasn't just been crypto that is falling. You know, this is the kind of time where you see that little bit of a retrace after we hit that initial Bitcoin peak. So just something to keep our eye on. We might get another move back to the upside depending on the state of the economy. I think that will be the big driver on crypto, as if this is the start of the bear and it was a short cycle and 108 was the top, or if we can see some life breathe back into the economy, the job numbers kind of stay steady, you might see some of that move back up to the upside and a double top before we really retrace back into a bear market. Got Jesse saying good morning to everyone. I see Alexander G in the chat. Good morning to you, Mod Queen. I see Dusty Hunt in here. We've got a Swag Arsis Lex saying good morning. We've got DeFi Crypto Boss asking thoughts on Chainlink. We can definitely take a look at some Chainlink. Dusty Hunt says, I just picked up some BitX. Maybe that's a safe move. We'll kind of have to dive into that a little bit later. I did have this Bitcoin chart pulled up on a 15-minute, so let's zoom that back on out to a higher term time frame. You can kind of see here negating a bunch of the lows that we had made in this range here, and we've dropped below that 50% Fibonacci on a retracement pulled from the lows down here before the whole move up, and we've kind of found a little bit of strength around that 50% fib line. We do still have an area of resistance now that we broke. Since we broke to the bottom side of it, this is that area I wanted to kind of see hold. We'll just have to see if we can really return this into some support here, as we are kind of bouncing against the bottom side of this. This was that low that we made from here. These are the other lows coming back in this range, which we kind of tapped on. Kind of looking to see if we can get back into this area with some money flow. The problem is a lot of this higher term time money flow is still looking extremely red here. That daily just kind of rolling over into that red area. We don't have any oversold. We have a first oversold signal. We don't have any reversal signals or any curvature here on your prime oscillator or on your MACD. It's kind of just a straight line down for now. We'll have to wait to see if we can get some strong money flow coming on in to really rescue Bitcoin. Kind of looking the same all over the markets though. A lot of these will be needing to see some money flow coming in that can overwhelm the selling pressure. Nvidia might continue to drag down the markets just a little bit. We do have CJ Nis in here saying up from here, question mark. I don't think up from here. I think there's a little bit more downside before up from here. We've got Paul Caruso in the chat. Morning all. Have a great day. We've got Chris Klein in the chat. Good morning to you. Hope you're having a great day, sir. And we've got Conspiracy Crypto in the chat as well. Good morning to you. You can kind of see here on our 1 hour chart, it does look like we found a little bit of some bouncing here, as we do have our first oversold signals finally getting some curvature on that prime oscillator. But like with that daily, our money flow is looking quite ugly. It is still in the red here and doesn't have very much curvature to kind of get back up into some buying pressure. That is kind of something I've been watching on. MACD still pointed very strong to the downside with a lot of width from that indicator line. So might be continuing a little more downside, as our prime oscillator is still light red as it's got that curvature back to the upside, because money flow is still coming out. Volume is kind of slowing down on that money flow though, so might be seeing that reversal come a little bit sooner, and like later in this day, or kind of in preparation for that data drop on Thursday. Bad news could be good news for some of these risk on assets, but we'll kind of have to keep our eye on that. I will dive more into that data drop Thursday tomorrow, as a lot of tomorrow will be in preparation for that data drop. You do have the 1 hour also kind of looking at that nice little bit of a reversal, but you're not seeing the strength really come in with that 1 hour. You do have your money flow, which is continuing to make these lower lows on the selling. Let's get that demonstration tool pulled up. As you can see here, we're continuing to make lower lows on this money flow indicator. So to see a higher low kind of made on this would be the first little move I would look at to potentially see a bottom. As you can see here, we are really struggling to get back into this box that I drew out as we started that move down. And it looks like this might be a local resistance area, especially with how money flow is looking. You did see a brief little green move on our prime oscillator, but we are sitting back here on the light red as we're getting that curvature to the upside. So not an overwhelmingly positive move to the upside, just kind of bouncing up against some support areas that are now looking like resistance areas. You do have a bit of a range to the bottom side if we were unable to turn this into some support and maintain this 50% fib line on a retracement. You do have 85 250, which was the nice area we got a bounce from way back here at the beginning of the move to the upside. You got three nice little candles that really bounced off of this area as some strong support before we moved back up to this 382 here. So that'd be that last little level I would look at for holding. If not, it's kind of an ugly move all the way back down to 83,000 in that golden pocket. Let's zoom it on in, take a look at that 15-minute and see what the morning might be bringing our way. My Alexa's so annoying. I didn't even say her name or anything. All right, you do have this 15-minute looking like it's getting a bit toppy on this move back to the upside. As you can kind of see here, we do have money flow, which is kind of holding steady on selling pressure. We do get a brief move up before making really equal lows here on this. So finding this as we get a bit toppy here on our box that I've had drawn out, and to come back down to this 50% line to kind of cool it off, see if we can get some strong money flow coming in, would be a move to see. If we are unable to hold this 50% Fibonacci at 88,133, look for more downside. It's kind of overwhelming selling pressure across the board, and Bitcoin is no different here. I see French Toaster in the chat. Good morning to you. I see Baba Yaz as well. Pastor Tanks saying, if I hold for another year, I feel like I should be good. Depends on what asset you're talking about. If you're talking about Bitcoin, if you hold for another year and keep buying, and then hold for another year and keep buying, and then hold for another year and keep buying, you should be good. I think we're starting to get to that point where we might be topping out, especially with the current state of the economy, and that's where I'd really wait to see the economic data that is coming out for Thursday. It does look like we are in a more contracting economy, and inflation is starting to come back in, which might mean stagflation. Let's hop over to that article and kind of address that worry, because it has been starting to come out on more of these news articles. I had this all prepped for this weekend, was going to do a show on Monday about it, kind of hurt my back at the gym, and now I'm extra prepared for it, and more news articles kind of came out on Monday. So we do have stagflation is the new threat to the stock market rally, what investors should do. And this is no different than the crypto side of things. If it's going to affect stocks, it's going to affect crypto even more extremely. I see Al Jr. in the chat and Buck as well. I see Kelly L in the chat as well. Good morning to you all. Let's hop into this news article, and then I'll kind of break down some of the thoughts that I had from this weekend when I was starting to look at stagflation worries. Worries about an unwelcome mix of inflation and stagnating economic growth are back. Only this time, such fears are becoming harder for investors to shake off. Throughout the past years, stagflation's concerns have intermittently resurfaced as inflation continues to trend above that 2% target on the Federal Reserve officials, but those fears repeatedly got replaced by confidence in the strength of the U.S. economy. Donald Trump's return to the White House last month in a historic election victory only added to the optimism in all trade associated with U.S. exceptionalism, or the idea that America has uniquely superior characteristics compared to the rest of the world, which was supposed to support the stock market as a whole, as well as the U.S. dollar. Now, the threat of stagflation appears to have more firmly taken hold, as demonstrated by the U.S. stocks that are lagging their European counterparts and a 1.8% year-to-date decline on the ICE US dollar index Friday's trading session, which handed the Dow Jones Industrial Average and S&P 500 their steepest declines of 2025, only underscored the worrisome sentiment taking a hold of investors. The S&P 500 had climbed to an all-time record close of $6,144 just last Wednesday. The Morgan Stanley strategist said investors have begun to question the sustainability of the U.S. exceptionalism investment narrative amid a debate about the economic outlook, and the skepticism has popped up in most of the conversations they've had with clients for several weeks. Meanwhile, Tom Assay, president and founder of Sevens Report, said his market analyst firm will be closely looking for rising risk of stagflation in coming weeks, which would be a sustainable new negative for stocks and crypto as well. The next big inflation update arrives on Friday in the form of January's reading of the Personal Consumption and Expenditures Price Index, or PCE. And this is that heavy market mover I was talking about at the beginning of the show. This could really move markets to the downside, not just in stocks, but in crypto extremely hard, especially since it is that risk on asset, which is the Fed's preferred gauge of price gains. Headline and core PCE readings are expected to come in at 0.3% on a monthly basis, based on the median estimate of economists polled by Wall Street Journal, which would either match or slightly exceed the prior month's figures. However, the annual headline and core PCE readings are expected to respectively ease to 2.4 and 2.6%. We will kind of dive more into that data that will be coming out on Thursday tomorrow. I did want to kind of dive into my thoughts on what the current administration could do to prevent some of these stagflation worries. You have already seen them try to make some of these steps, like implementing reciprocal trade tariffs, could be a nice little move to kind of decrease some of these stagflation worries, especially with the data prints that will be going forward, increasing the job strengths decreasing with increasing numbers of unemployment, also with inflation rearing its ugly head. These tariffs could kind of negate a lot of the problems that we're seeing in manufacturing with the American side of things, kind of decreasing that trade deficit as well. You have America at all-time highs for trade deficits, which is very, very worrisome and really, really, really takes away from some of the strength of the Dixie. We have increased domestic energy production, which is something Trump has already started to kind of do. We have a lot of oil and refineries that could be put to use. We also need to increase some of these oil refineries that we have in the United States, because they're lagging a bit behind. So definitely another move that Trump has talked about quite heavily. We do have regulatory reforms, which is something he's also talked about, taking away a lot of regulations to kind of let the market run a little more, so that you can have more strength in the market and bring more money in, because America just being the best place to put your dollar is not continuing to hold that strength of people investing in it, especially as the whole world is kind of in a sticky situation. Stagflation is not only a worry here, it is a worry everywhere. So that sometimes the place that's going to get hit the hardest is not the best place to put your money. And America might get hit quite hard if the world starts seeing some stagflation. You also saw labor and immigration policies, which could negate some of these stagflation issues. If you kind of if you kind of have that wake up call and you're taking a lot of people out and forcing more Americans to take up these jobs as more jobs kind of come into the economy, that's kind of what you would look for strength on that labor side. And if you have a strong labor force, that will also negate some of those stagflation worries, kind of decrease the need to increase the rates on borrowing, which is something that we'll have to watch as we go into this year, because they have been wanting to hold rates. But if the job market really gets too crazy as inflation comes in very strong, you will see those rates increased, and this will be another downside pressure on all of your assets, stock and crypto as well. I see All Set in the chat. Good morning, good morning. I see Buck in here. Good morning to you. Good thing BC's calm-based voice makes me feel all warm and fuzzy in the morning. So nice. Yeah, especially when I'm talking about crazy negative things in the stock market and on crypto. Kind of negate some of that worry. We are looking like we're trying to turn this area into some support real quick, but we've got very, very strong resistance to the upside at about 90,000. So that would be that first little area we really need to get above and turn into some support before we can get back up to this 90,800. I was taking a look at gold. Gold has been in a bit of a downtrend here. Let's zoom that on out to a higher term time frame. Take a look at that 4 hour. As we make all-time highs on gold, it is kind of the move to see a little bit of retracement there. Let's get that chart pulled up. There we go there. Got gold making a bit of a retracement here. You do have us losing this key area. I wanted to see us hold as some support. We tried extremely hard to do so, and that's why I'm starting to look back down here at these levels I had talked about before. You do have that golden pocket, which it looks like you might see a brief little stalling at before we really continue that move to the downside. You do have a nice little bit of an area to the bottom, which would be that 50% fib line. You might see a little bit of a bounce before that, sitting where we saw very equal selling pressure at, which was 2,918. If we are unable to maintain a lot of these ranges, which is quite possible, seeing we have massive divergences stacked all the way up here on a higher term time frame, and your prime oscillator just switched to red as your money flow is starting to roll over, and the volume here is heavy selling pressure. It all bodes for more downside action here on gold. Had a brief little hold at some green volume, but it's looking like more downside as you've switched back to the red here on this last little section. That's where I'd look for a nice lower bounce down here at the 50% line on our fib extension. If not, it's quite a bit of a fall back down to that 382 and about $2,904. Definitely not an ugly move to see when you've been making continuous all-time highs on gold. We do have that Dixie sitting in a range as well, losing a lot of key levels that I'd wanted to hold as some support. If anyone does have any alt requests, go ahead and drop that in the chat for me. I've got plenty of time to look at that. I didn't really have another news article. I had a few things that I thought about talking about, but they didn't seem that important. The big news seems to be the charts and trying to find where we find those bouncing points in the market, especially with the overwhelming selling pressure we've seen across the board. So go ahead, drop those alt requests in the chat for me so I can take a look at them. I see Sol has been requested. Let me get that added to the list. We got Sol and Ondo. And Ada as well. Can take a look at all of that. Ondo and Ada. All right. We have the Dixie here. I'm trying to make a move back above that 106.72 that I've had drawn out from back here in December. This was a key area we got a strong bounce off of to the upside to move back to this platinum pocket here on an extension, which has been our real battle range. As soon as we lost this level, we also started to lose all of the positiveness on our oscillators here. You do have your MACD, which is looking to cross to the bottom side of our indicator line below 0. So looking quite bearish here for the dollar. You've also got your prime oscillator here, which is looking red again as your volume is looking to roll over, making a brief high here in the volume before it really tapers off into some selling pressure. Dixie not looking too strong. You do have a brief little area below us where we could kind of find a bounce. And that's going to be 105.45. Might make a brief little bounce here, find a moving average as resistance. That would probably be that 105.91 before we really continue that trend back to the downside. That golden pocket would be that next area I would kind of look at. This was a giant fair value gap as well. We only really retested the midline of that and left the rest of that open. So that'd be that next little area I would look at if we were unable to maintain this 105.45, and with a lot of the weakness of the economy on America as well. We have been heating back up faster than a lot of these other countries. Tariffs won't be able to negate a lot of that, and that's where you'll see some money start flowing out. You did have that US dollar JPY pair that I've been watching, and it's at some dangerous levels as well. Especially considering that you might see that increase of the rates from Japan, especially with their data drops from the past couple of weeks, indicating that you might see that. And the JPY making some strength against the dollar. This is the US dollar to JPY, and so you are making new lows here against the yen. And this is where you might start seeing some more pressure to flow money from the United States back into Japan. We'll kind of have to keep our eye on that Nikkei. That's an indicator that you're starting to see as the US dollar and JPY pair loses a lot of gains a lot of strength, that the money is actually flowing from the United States to Japan. So that's that first little indicator you kind of watch for, as Japan, the Japanese yen is trying to make new highs against the dollar that it hasn't been at since about December of last year. And if we go a whole lot lower, this is that area where we did see below that golden pocket that Japanese carry trade start to unwind. This would be a whole indicator for some selling pressure if we get below that 146 on that US dollar JPY pair. All right, let's see. I did see a few other requests. XRP and Cake and Link. XRP and Cake and Link. I don't think I've ever taken a look at Cake. I'm not sure what that one is. Is that the swap there? We've got bottom is definitely in, says Biz Knowledge. 24 extreme fear, brother. It's just CZ and MM manipulating the market. CZ called 85 before the send up. And that's exactly what I just said this morning as well. I was looking at 85 for that bottom side action before we get that move up. 85 at 251 for a strong bounce and continuation to the upside. We'll kind of have to see if that plays out or not. That is the kind of move I was looking for. I didn't get to talk about it yesterday as I didn't go to get that. Didn't do my show yesterday, but I'm glad I got to today. And we'll kind of see if that 85 gets hit, and then might see a continuation to the upside. If we're unable to maintain that, though, it's an ugly drop to the bottom. We do have Solana looking quite ugly as well. It has been losing a lot of these key levels that I wanted to see hold, and we're now back in that 140 range. I did talk about seeing a lot of weakness on Solana a few weeks ago as we saw a lot of negative news coming out, and we're looking to try to come back all the way to that golden pocket, which is kind of something I had talked about there if we weren't able to maintain this 50% line on our fib extension. This was that first little area I was looking at for a bounce. That was 163 and 89, and we really lost that 50% line on our fib. You have a bit of an area that we saw some bouncing at briefly, but if the bottom is not in, this is a little area below us, 129, almost 130 there, where we could see a little bit of some bounce. We almost wicked all the way down to that. If we continue to see some sell-off here, like the rest of the market, your daily's looking quite ugly. Money flow is rolling over here, and the red here, let's get that back on in demonstration. You got money flow rolling over as well, looking to make a lower low here, potentially make another little lower high and continue that trend. You do have the prime oscillator looking quite down. Saw a brief reversal signal from up here where we got that move back up towards our 181 line that I wanted to see us turn into some support before we really continue that downward trend. Saw a brief light red on our prime oscillator before we really went back strong red, and are looking to create a lot of more room to the downside. You might see a little bit of a brief wicking action to the top before you really continue that move down. The 50% line would be that area I'd kind of look at, 151.65, before you really continue that trend. The 4 hour does have very ugly money flow as well. Really strong red here. Prime oscillator getting that move back to the upside with some oversold signals, but it's light red as it gets this move up, especially with the way that money flow is looking quite bearish here. MACD getting some slight sideways movement here, but not too much, and could just be another little brief move up towards our indicator line before really rolling over and finding some strong support to the bottom. 1 hour looking like you've already got that cross here, and it's kind of a weak cross. You do have the MACD line seeing some sideways movement here on our 1 hour. Also seeing the prime oscillator getting kind of green but toppy here as money flow is quite ugly, as some selling pressure. Volume is very strong, selling volume as well. Not looking overwhelmingly positive. Let's zoom in 15-minute. Already getting that strong rollover here as we are unable to get above some of the highs of this range, that 145, which was kind of the whole resistance area all the way through this. And we are starting to see that rollover money flow rolling over here just briefly. Volume looking like it peaked out on that buying volume, and prime oscillator getting that reversal signal. So waiting to see that bottom side bounce. Had Ondo requested. Let's get that Ondo. There we go. Looking like that platinum pocket might be an area where we're trying to hold some support. 4 hour looking like it's got a bit of room to run to the top side. Really gonna have to see if that selling volume can slow up a bit more and swap back to the green and have some strong money flow coming in. Do have a bit of an area to the top side where you might start seeing some resistance here. That's going to be about 108, where we saw some strong wicking with some buying pressure. Really tried to falter, really tried to hold that area before we really got that strong breakdown back towards our platinum pocket. Let's see what our shorter term time frames are saying. You got that 1 hour with a nice little break above our indicator line with some solid moves to the upside. Might be a bit of a sideways move here if we were unable to maintain that with some buying pressure. Your volume is still looking like some selling pressure here. You have a bit of some divergences stacked up, which aren't looking to play out with too much volume and money flow. So you've got that basically $1 range, which is that psychological level, which you might start seeing some resistance at all over again. Kind of take a look at that 15-minute and see if it really confirms that. Now, that's where we're seeing a lot of that prime oscillator looking toppy, just like the rest of the market. Got that volume looking quite steady here as some buying volume, but your prime oscillator at that point where you could start seeing that reversal flash here in the next couple of minutes or so. The MACD looking to break that zero line, but it's doing it at a bit of a sideways move here. So finding that platinum pocket as some very strong support where we wait for more money flow to come in would be a nice move to see before we try to get that move back up above 108 and turn that into some support. This was an area of support and resistance here on the way down, and it's been an area from before where we got very solid candle bodies, not wicking, but candle bodies to bounce off of it and move back up towards that golden pocket where we made some support and moved back up to that 50% line. There's Ondo. Let's take a look at ADA. I think I actually got that right there on my list. All right, got ADA. And we're looking like we're trying to break it back above some areas on that golden pocket there. You do have the platinum pocket way down here, but looking for some money flow to come back in. Really gonna depend on if the rest of the market gets that move to the upside, but with what I was looking for, you might see a little bit of some revisiting lower levels. You do have a bit of an area right below us at 62 cents, which looks like some very strong buying pressure steps on in every single time. You do have that prime oscillator getting that curvature back to the upside with some oversold signals, but it is still light red, waiting for that money flow to really come in strong, just like the rest of the market. Seeing a bit of some sideways action here on our MACD, but going to need that volume and money flow to really back it on up so that we can get that strong curvature and a move back up to the upside, especially with how some of the shorter term time frames are looking. You have that really staying to the bottom side of our indicator line on our MACD as we are trying to get some overall curvature here to move back up. Those candles are looking a bit light red, waiting for us to kind of break these highs from over here. That's going to be that 69 cents, which looks like some strong resistance. Your prime oscillator is briefly green here before you continue that downside. Looking to really stack up another divergence before you get that strong move to the upside. Volume is selling volume though, so going to need that money flow to really come in and rescue. Let's see if that 15-minute says we might be seeing same as the rest of the market. Shorter term time frames are looking a bit toppy, like we're going to come revisit some strong support areas. If you're unable to maintain that 62 cent, I'd have to look at that daily. You do have a bit of some action to the downside. We've got some equal candle bodies a bit below that. Gonna be 57 cents would be that next area I would really watch at for a bottom side on ADA. If you are unable to maintain 62 cents there, this is a more macro area of some support before we try to get back up to that golden pocket. Let's get rid of that shorter term time frame one, because it is looking more macro right now, like we might go back down to the downside. We had XRP requested. All right, let's hop over to XRP. And I know we had some talks about XRP in the Discord last night, which was quite interesting. You know, we have been retracing quite hard on XRP, which is no different than a lot of these other projects, as Bitcoin has been gaining some dominance as the whole market is moving down. You have that daily looking like you might have a little bit more room to drop back down to our 50% line on our fib retracement. That's $1.95 before we see that strong bounce to the upside. A lot of buying pressure below this range though, so definitely looking to see if we can find some support here on some shorter term time frames. You have us sitting a very equal with some candle bodies back there. Let's take a look at that 4 hour. 4 hour starting to look like you might start seeing some reversal signals start flash again. If you can have that money flow coming in with some positivity. You do have the volume being a selling volume here, so we're going to need to try to find that strong support. You do have a bit of a resistance area to the top side at about $2.30. That's at 382 on a Fibonacci retracement before we might continue that downside just a bit. You have that 15-minute also looking a bit toppy here. Volume is buying volume. You had your divergence already play out here, getting that curvature back down to the bottom, waiting for that reversal signal to really flash. MACD looking like you're moving a little more sideways as you start to approach the zero line. So unless you can get some crazy volume and money flow coming in here to kind of rescue us and get us above this 382 and $2.30 before we try to continue up to the upside, I would look at this being a bit of a resistance area and trying to retest some of our lower levels. Had cake requested as well. I don't think I've got that on my list anywhere. Let's see. Cake. Yeah, I don't have that on my list anywhere. So let's see what's got the most history. Let's zoom this on out to a daily. Looking like the Binance chart will be fine for that. Looking a bit ugly there. Is this the right project? We're looking at Pancake. It's making lower lows. Let's see if we got something else with a little more history. Let's see. Cake on Bybit. There we go. That's a little bit better. Got a little more history there. for a macro, let's pull from the lows here, which is kind of the lows that we got a strong bounce off of before we made some moves back up, looking like it might be losing that platinum pocket here as we try to make a higher low for the first time in a while on the macro. Let's kind of zoom this on in. You have money flow looking quite nice here. It is green, but it is rolling over a bit as your prime oscillator is looking to cool down and your MACD looking the same. Let's zoom in to that 4 hour, see what we're seeing here. You have reversal signals flashing on those 4 hours, just like the rest of the market. Seeing oversold, but your money flow looking like it's rolling back over here as well. MACD looking like it's got a bit of some curvature as well as the rest of everything, but it's a very easy move to kind of bounce off of that indicator line and really continue to the downside. Just waiting for that money flow to kind of come in and rescue. You have that 1 hour looking like it's the same as the rest of the market, where your money flow is quite negative as your prime oscillator is overheating. Your MACD looking like it crossed with a little more moves to the upside though. So if you can get above this 50% line with some strong money flow, you might see a move back to the upside on this. You have a bit of a resistance area sitting with some equal candle bodies running through about $2.46 that I would kind of look at as a resistance area. You get a brief bounce off of it. Same with the rest of that move to the downside. Got that brief little move up before you really lost that platinum pocket. BC, here's the link forward to Alexo Crypto. Thank you for dropping that in the chat for me, Jesse. We do have Alexo Crypto right after this, and I've got time to look at Link before we wind down the show. So looking for Cake to try to make this a platinum pocket as some support here to continue back up to the upside. Definitely looking like it has a little more potential to do that than some of the rest of things, but like the rest of the market, it is looking quite toppy here on that 15-minute, but your volume is looking to come out a little bit quicker. So if you can kind of make some equal lows here with the rest of things, and really find that strong support to get back up to our platinum pocket, you might see some more strength on this. But your prime oscillator is looking quite toppy here as it is getting a bit of a rollover, and your MACD is moving a bit sideways here as it has broke above the 0 line. So looking to find strong support everywhere. You do have a link was requested as well. Let's hop on over to it. Link sitting at a platinum pocket for retracements as well. Let's zoom this on out to our 4 hour. 4 hour looking like it's got a bit more room to kind of move sideways here if we can continue to see this volume slowing down on some selling pressure. Got some reversal signals that have flashed, but your prime oscillators looking quite light red here, waiting for that money flow just like the rest of the market. 1 hour looking like you might see a brief little bounce up. Would need to get above about the midline of that fair value gap, move to the downside. $15.65 would be that first little area I'd want to see turn into some support here. We got a test of it as we continued that move to the downside. That's going to be right there with that little equal candle wick and the midline of that whole candle there. So $15.54 with that first little area we need to get above on Link on a shorter term time frame, probably about that 30-minute chart. before we really see that strong bounce to the upside on it. You are looking a little bit like you're rolling over here on the MACD as you have broken your indicator line. It's a very sideways move, just like the rest of the market. So really needing that volume to come back in as some buying volume to rescue a lot of these assets. Thank you for the great stream and TABC. Have a wonderful day. You too, Alexander G. Make sure you drive safe to work. We need our mod queens in the chat. We've got that 15-minute also looking quite toppy here, but it's looking like it's got more strength for a bottom side move and bounce to the upside, especially since your moves back up did not really overheat your prime oscillator, and it's been green for a lot longer than a bunch of these other assets have, and your rollover is looking like it might just be a continued move to the upside, making higher lows and really finding this platinum pocket as some support. So a few assets might diverge just a little bit if you can maintain some of these key levels here, especially with our volume being so strong, volume and our money flow being a bit nice on some of the assets. But that's where you kind of look at it diverging just a little bit from Bitcoin before Bitcoin really steals the show, kind of drags the whole market down. This is where you see us really bouncing against this resistance area, making lower highs here for Bitcoin as well. So going to need to break a lot of these key levels. Rolling over here on that 15-minute, 5-minute also looking a bit ugly. You have a bit of a volume rolling a bit, but your MACD and prime oscillator are at a very indecisive move. So really going to need to turn this area back into some support, and that's what I'd look for Bitcoin. If we can maintain that as some support, you might see a brief move to the upside, and that's where you'd see that 90,800 being that strong resistance area. We'll kind of have to see what the day brings our way, especially with a lot of this being preparation for some data drops on Thursday. So appreciate every single one of you for showing up today. I will see y'all in an Alexo Crypto chat here in a few minutes. Other than that, make sure to trade safe. We are looking for that volume to come in and rescue the markets. If we don't see that volume, look for sideways movements or look for a little more downside and a strong bounce. Those are kind of the two options to really cool these oscillators off and bring things back to the upside with some strength. Other than that, everyone, wake up because today is going to be a good day.